Hello there, fellow travelers. I am Eon. It is a pleasure to meet each and every one of you. The purpose I serve here is simple. Something you do every day. So human and yet so divine. Something that holds the power to make a chill run down one's spine, a tear rush down your cheek, a chuckle, or even a gasp escape your throat. I am a storyteller, well-traveled from the ancient cities of Greece to the exotic islands of Japan. Across the lands, I have collected boundless stories all wrapped up in my humanic tone. My journey has led me here, where I wish to share these stories with you. Every single story we create is inspired by the world around us, containing fragments of innumerable tales derived from myth. If you look to a piece of fiction, especially those of a fantastical nature, you may observe this principle, as our imagination only goes so far as the sights we see and the stories we hear. Now I wish to do my part to pass these narratives on to a new generation, just as the orators did in the days of old. Everything has a beginning. This is a noble truth of life, and this truth has been weaved into almost every society across the world, manifesting as imaginative myths that each tell how things began. Today I will share to you a story from ancient Greece, molded from a myriad of myths, serving to comprehend how something so wonderful as our world began. Before everything we know existed today, there was chaos. A black world devoid of any fathomable reality. This empty existence was not meant to last forever though, and through a miracle of creation sprouted Eurynome, a brilliant goddess that shined like a white beacon amidst the nothingness. Eurynome traveled among the nothing, her thoughts becoming tangible, forming anything she desired. Her greatest joy was dancing, creating a gentle breeze as her only partner. After a while, though, she became unsatisfied. For once she was done dancing, the wind would fall silent, and she would once again feel the numbness of the world around her. The next time she began to sway, she gathered the strands of wind as they joined her, weaving one after another, till they formed a long, slender serpent, which she named Ophion. No longer was she alone. She enjoyed every second with her new mate. Now, when Eurynome danced with the wind, she would be accompanied by Ophion, coiled around her statuesque form, humming along to her dance. Over time, their love grew until they mated, and together, they made the cosmic egg. The egg held incredible power inside of it. Its shell was as white as light itself. Just its presence brightened the emptiness, showing slight beginnings of the divine revelation that was about to come. The couple sat by the beaming spheroid daily, eagerly awaiting for the day it would hatch. If someone were to press their ear against the hard shell, they would surely be deafened by the powerful ambient rumblings of the universe within. Ophion coiled himself around the egg daily, applying pressure with his belly, letting his bodily heat warm the egg amidst the frigid and unforgiving background of the chaos. With their care, the egg hatched. A single crack formed into several more, and from the shell burst forth the cosmos in a grand explosion, dispersing energy to the farthest reaches of existence. 3 pieces of the shell remained, and each formed into a separate being. The first fragment became Tartarus, a blazing inferno holding a future brimming with torment for those unfortunate to occupy its domain. The second shell came to land atop of Tartarus, and formed into Gaia, her body consisting of the earth that you and I both stand on. This was a different earth, however, that you and I know. Her body lacked the spark that filled her land with life. It was a barren earth, with no trees or animals, but just empty landscapes that were begging to be filled. There was one more fragment that remained, and it came to rest just above Gaia, where it expanded, and formed Uranus, the sky that forever embraced Gaia. Following the example set before them, Uranus and Gaia became an inseparable couple. Their love filled Gaia with life, and each time they mated, a new species would be born. The first species to be created were the Titans. 12 were eventually made, and each carried different traits. Even though they were high divine beings, the Titans showed the first steps towards a humanoid body, having discernible torsos with arms and legs. 2 other races were eventually spawned, each consisting of a single trio. One group was the Cyclopses, humanoid monsters that towered above the mountains, peering down at everything through a single glazed eye. The other trio were the Hecatons. These creatures boasted 50 sets of arms, all attached to a body with 50 heads lying atop it. Among these creations, the Titans stood as the prominent race, earning the favor of both their parents. Uranus did not have enough love in his heart for all his children, showing all of his attention to his favorite Titans while shunning the Hecatons and Cyclops as abominations. This disgust would eventually be aimed at his wife, when Uranus wondered how his beloved could ever spawn such ugly creatures. Unable to bear their presence any longer, he sent powerful hurricanes to carry each one and deliver them deep within Gaia, to the inner world of Tartarus, where they became lost in the Black Inferno. They were restrained and could no longer move, stuck in deep pits with fire licking against their ankles and betrayal filling their hearts. The loss of her children pained Gaia, for even if her husband despised them, Gaia had infinite love for all of her children. She reached out to her remaining children, the Titans, for help. She could not turn a hand against her husband despite his deeds, and needed someone else to deal a blow for her. When Gaia approached her children, most of them shirked away from her request, fearing that they would join their unfortunate siblings down in Tartarus. Only one proved brave enough to stand forth, and promised to help Gaia. Kronos stood tall among his siblings, who would cower before their mighty father. The grateful Gaia reached into herself, and pulled up a flint sickle, handing it to Kronos to use as his trusty tool. The next clouded and starless evening, with weapon in hand, Kronos sat in hiding, waiting for his father to rest for the night. Once Uranus had fallen deep into slumber, Kronos stealthily crept to where he laid. He stood between his father's legs, and lifted the sickle. With a quick swipe, he cut off his father's private member. The sudden shock of pain awoke the great Uranus. He gripped his crotch while screaming in agony. His chest pounded, and his eyes widened as blood seeped through his clenched hand, falling to the earth, where it formed into the Furies, the tree nymphs, and the race of giants. Kronos hastily reached the ocean, and threw the severed flesh into the sea. It met the water with a loud splash, sinking to the bottom and disappearing from sight. From where the member sank, foam bubbled and gathered at the surface, and from the formless cluster emerged a soft, feminine arm. The graceful figure of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, strode onto the shore, and for the first time she took a breath of the salted air that surrounded her. Her still dripping brunette locks danced in the wind, and her bright eyes met once more with the sea from which she was conceived. Kronos returned to his father, assuring him that this would be his age, the age of the Titans. Uranus turned toward his son, his voice shaking with indignant rage. He spat a malicious warning that Kronos would later have a son overcome him, just as he had done now. Kronos refused to dignify him with a response, even daring to look him in the eye as he did so. Defeated, Uranus left Gaia forever, and returned to the sky, leaving Kronos to fill the vacant spot of patriarchal power. He married his sister Rhea, and together they bore several children that made up the first gods of the world. However, all was not well. Something lingered in the back of Kronos' mind, depriving him of peace, robbing him of joy, even rest. The last words his father had coldly uttered before his departure. Interesting, wasn't it? Think to yourself for a moment. How do you think you would imagine the world began? What would you base that understanding off of? There is much more to the story, but we will leave it here for now. I will continue the next chapter at a later date. The story of the almighty Zeus, his rise to power, and the challenges he faces in doing so. If you enjoyed this story and wish to hear more, please subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications. Or, you can explore mythology on your own, to learn the source of this story, and the many others that have taken inspiration from it. Thank you.